Welcome to the Idaho Business Podcast, where we talk with local entrepreneurs, share motivation, network with one another, and pick up a tip or two on how not to burn your business to the ground. I'm your host, Spencer Ward. All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode. All right. As always, sponsored by Health West. Great people, great organization. See what they can do for you and your family medically, and see where they're closest to you throughout Idaho. Also sponsored by Nucleane Commercial Cleaning. If you need any janitorial, carpet cleaning, any cleaning help, give us a call at 208-254-7070. I've been thinking a lot about this lately. I know I've talked a lot about this in the past episodes, but I want to talk about when it comes to employees and different behaviors and different things we come across as owners or managers. I want to talk about, do we train them or do we fire them? Okay. One of the hardest decisions in business, whether to train an employee or let them go. Some employees lack skill, experience, or confidence. Others lack ownership, humility, honesty, and commitment. Okay. Skill problems can usually be trained. Character problems are much harder to fix. You've probably noticed this in past employees. The key question here is, can't they do it yet, or won't they do it right? Some employees need more training. Others need a different seat. Others need to get off the bus. The mistake business owners make is trying to train someone out of a character problem. So today we're gonna look at some of these different employees and answer one question: do we need to train or do we need to fire them? So let's start with the first one. Guys and gals, I know that you're dealing with this because every company deals with this. They have these type of employees. Okay. My thing is it's a two-way commitment when you hire someone. They're committing to you that they're going to do the job that they saw this job posting for, and they're like, they applied for and they said, I can do this. Okay. That's their commitment, them doing that job that you hired them for. Your commitment is paying them the fair wage that you promised them for doing that job. Okay. Now, when one of those commitments is broken, obviously it better not be on your side because you better be paying them. Then we have problems. Okay. So let's talk about an employee who complains about everything. Okay. Have you been around those type of employees? Because I have. Now, first of all, we need to talk about, we need to separate the legitimate feedback from chronic complaining. Okay. There's always going to be employees that care about the company. I think we talked about this a couple of episodes ago about they care about the company. They want it to succeed. So they have, some legitimate feedback. Okay. You need to be humble enough to take that and to run with that instead of saying, oh, that's chronic complaining. Okay. So good employees identifying problems because they want to improve it are not employees that complain about everything. Chronic complainers find fault with every customer, manager, and policy. Okay. Hear them out. Make sure their concerns have no merit. Continued negativity problems become a culture problem for sure. Okay. So give them feedback and an opportunity to change. But if it doesn't, it's time to usher them out. Okay. There's a difference between an employee who brings up a problem and an employee who becomes the problem. When the constant complaining begins poisoning the team, protecting that employee means failing everyone else. And they will see that over and over, guys. We're going to talk about core values here in a minute. But if you have your core values established, like we've talked about in this podcast for, I don't know how many episodes, we have over 400 episodes, and I'm sure we've covered it, possibly 100 times. Come up with some core values that you can run your company by, and it's a side note right here, but what you do, you text 3 to 5 people who are closest to you, who are not maybe your mom. Maybe you can do, the sixth person that you can be your mom, but say, hey, what are 3 to 5 words that describe me? Okay. And then out of all the people you ask that, find the ones that are most common with each other, and then start to build, your core values that way. Okay. Core values are the rules to the game. We're talking about this here shortly, but that's what it comes down to. The employees that are the problems, they have no care about the core values of the company. They just care about themselves. So let's move on. Employees who make mistakes but take ownership. Okay. What I would do with them, train them. Okay. Let's talk about it a little bit more because everyone makes mistakes. You make mistakes. I make mistakes. It's a part of life. We actually have a guarantee in our business. It's called the "We're Not Perfect" guarantee. Okay. So pay attention to what they do afterwards, though. After they make that mistake, what do they do? Okay. Do they hide it? Okay. Do they blame others or tell the truth? Okay. Ownership makes improvement possible. They'll correct the mistake. They'll find ways to become better. And they'll want to become that employee that they need to become, and then you need them to become, and they want to become. So that's a big one for me. Is I love people when they can take ownership, um, because I'm constantly taking ownership in my business. You see my admin team. You can ask any of them; they'll tell you over and over again. Yeah, Spencer will always say, "Hey, that was my fault, guys. Yeah, that was on me," or "I'm sorry." That's a lot of what I do. Okay, because I make mistakes. Okay, it's not always doing that, but when I mess up, I own it and own it. If you can't own your mistakes and you think you're some perfect being, you're wrong. Okay, so look over those employees they're struggling, but they're taking ownership. As long as they're not dishonest or trying to blame others, you've got to keep her there. Okay, you could train them. Okay, let's talk about a top performer who creates drama. Okay, my decision would be fire them. Now you're going to ask why? They're bringing in so much money for me and my company. Okay, cool. They might be doing the work of two employees, but they're poisoning the well for the other 10. And that is huge. They don't care about the team. They don't care about you even. They just care about them and their paycheck. They don't care how much drama they create, how much gossip they produce. You know, they don't care. Okay. And then rules that do not apply to the top performers are not really rules. Okay. And if people see, especially if your core values in place, and if people see that, hey, this person is staying, and he's obviously not a core values fit, they're going to say, oh well, these guys are lying to us then, because they say all the time core values are so important. That's the rules of the game. But obviously, this guy's disobeying all the rules of the game, but they're keeping him because or her because they are making money. I'm telling you guys, if you get rid of these people, your other employees will step up. Okay. And you can find other dedicated people who aren't drama cases, who aren't gossiping, because more than likely, if they're gossiping about, other employees and things within the company, they're gossiping about you as a leader. Okay. They don't care. Okay. So let's move on to the next one. An employee who is coachable, but inexperienced. Okay. I would say train them all day long. Okay. Inexperience is not inability. Coachable employees listen, they ask questions, and make adjustments. Okay. Every experienced employee was once a beginner. That's huge, guys. Yeah, we have to understand that. Especially in the trades. If you threw me in, you can ask Justin Downs about this. Good friend, but he would know. Yeah, Spencer would be terrible. He'd be terrible at building. I know nothing about it. My wife even hangs the art and the pictures on our walls at home, because there would probably be 7 different holes behind each painting if I did that. So, and maybe one through her painting. So then it would be instant death for me. Not a good sign. But I could learn. Okay. I could learn. If I really wanted to get in there and I was coachable, I could learn. Okay. I just don't have interest in that category. But if you have an employee who's just really green and wants to be coachable and can take coachable and some constructive criticism, that doesn't mean you being a total jerk to them, but help them, coach them, and then you'll coach a loyal employee that should stay with you for a while. Okay. Now, one of the famous quotes, I can't remember who said it, is like, what if I put all this training into someone and then they leave? Okay. What if you don't train them and if they stay? That's huge. You got to train them, guys. You got to show that they care, because it's your business. You should care. So let's just let that be. Coachable, but inexperienced, let's train them. Okay. What about a smart employee who does not care about the mission? Okay. They don't care about the core values. I say fire. There's 100 smart people out there that actually want to work and actually wants to be there. Okay. Intelligence without commitment can be so dangerous. It's so dangerous. Okay. Um, I'll explain the mission and connect their role to the customer or whatever it is. And healthy disagreement is valuable, but people that are just constantly, yeah, I don't care, or I'm here to do my job and nothing else. I don't care about anything else about the business. I'm here to do X, Y, and Z. I'm having space for them, those people in my company. I want these people to be a part of the culture, to buy into the culture. I'm not saying they have to drink all the Kool-Aid and do exactly what we say, but come on, guys. We can all be different in this world. I can sit around the table when we do interviews, which I don't do very much. And I can say, I can look at everyone around the table and say, well, we're obviously different, but we can all share the same values. Okay? And that's what we're looking for. So a smart employee rowing backwards makes everyone else work harder. And that is so huge. Okay. So remember that all the way across the board. All right. Next one. Employees who work hard but learn slowly. I say train all day long. Train, train, train. Okay. Learning slowly is not the same as being lazy. Look for consistency, effort, and progress. Okay. You want to see if someone's really trying, you notice that. You notice that kind of stuff. When they're trying and they're just a little slow at it, that's big. And if they're coachable, they take ownership, like we talked about in the past, use them, coach them. They will be loyal to you. They will be great employees. You just need to give them a little more time, a little more effort. Okay. So slow progress is acceptable. Refusing to improve is not. Okay. Some of your most dependable employees will not be the fastest learners. They will be the ones who keep showing up, keep trying, and keep improving. When the effort and character are there, train them all day long. Okay. Next employee who blames everyone else. What do you think that's going to be? That's right. Fire. Fire their butts. Okay. First, make sure they're not being unfairly blamed. Okay. That's a big one. Leadership must own poor systems and unclear expectations. After that, watch for permanent excuses. Okay. Nothing is ever their fault. Okay. Blame prevents improvement. Good employees ask what they could have done differently. Chronic blamers eventually blame leadership too. Okay. If coaching does not change it, remove them. It's simple as that, guys. An employee who refuses to take ownership cannot improve. If every problem belongs to someone else, there is never a reason for them to change. You have to address it with them first. We have a 3-strike rule in our company, a verbal, written, and you're gone. And that's kind of how you do it. You say, hey, you're blaming everyone, you're out. If it's severe enough, you can. But, give them a chance. Obviously, see if they're not being, blamed unfairly. I've seen that in the past. And then just push forward. Okay. All right. What about an employee who is struggling? Just in general, just struggling. Okay. I would say train. Loyalty should earn someone a sincere effort from leadership. Okay. Find out what changed. They may be in a difficult season. Okay. They may be in the wrong position. Okay. So clarify expectations. Ask whether they still want the role. Provide training and consider a different seat in the company if you have one. Set measurable expectations and timeline. Loyalty does not guarantee lifetime employment, though. Okay. We have an employee right now. Awesome, awesome dude. He's been with us for years now. End of last year, he was hit by a drunk driver while working for us. He was going out to a location, a drunk driver just slammed into him. And my employee was in the intensive care for weeks and weeks, almost died. Uh, it's been a slow recovery for him. Obviously, his jobs was waiting for him when he got back, but he's been struggling. He's been struggling, and rightfully so. The guy's been struggling, so we're helping him, or we're working with him. We're trying to find ways to make him better and more effective in his position. But now we've started to tweak things a little bit for him, so it's going to be better for him, better for us, and as he continues to improve, he'll have a job forever. Okay, that's what you have to kind of do sometimes. If you have the ability to do that, moving them around your company, do it. If you are a very, very small company and you're like, dude, you're like my only employee, I need you really to saddle up or get off the horse. I get that. And that stuff happens. So, okay, so do not throw away a good person simply because they're struggling. Sometimes the employee is not wrong for the company, they're just wrong for that position. Give them a fair opportunity to recover. Okay. That's what we're doing now. But do not confuse avoiding a hard decision with loyalty. So, like I told you before, we're going to talk a little bit more about the core values. They are the rules of the game. That's what I tell all my employees. Core values give you an objective standard. They tell employees how the game is played. At Nucleane and my other company that we just recently bought a couple of years ago, what has now been rebranded Nucleane. Our values are be honest, have fun, work together, and make money. Okay. Evaluate repeated behavior against those values. Okay. Talent does not excuse violating those rules. When employees consistently go against the values, usher them out quickly. Okay. Culture is what leadership rewards and tolerates. Okay. I always say, you know, and when I'm doing interviews, which is not much anymore, but I remember when I did a lot of interviews, I would say, guys, we talk about the core values. I say, listen, um, I can teach you to be good cleaners and good janitorial specialists or the carpet cleaning specialists or whatever it is. I cannot teach you to be good people. And that's what we're looking for here. We're looking for people who sit around the table that all are different, different nationalities, different genders, whatever, but we can still share the same values. Okay. That's what we're looking for. Okay. That's huge. So your core values are the rules to the game. Just remember that. Okay. When they consistently go against those rules, it's time to be ushered out. Okay. Not because we don't care about them, but because we care about the rest of the team more. If you leave someone in there that is honestly just a core values and not a core values fit, everyone else will see that too. And they're going to say, wow, Patrick or Sandra or Spencer, he's lying to us because he's keeping this troublemaker in the game just because he's making us money. But he's terrible. No one likes him. He brings the morale down. He does all this stuff going. Get rid of the person. So talking about my core values. So be honest. Tell the truth. Obviously, this is a very simple one. Own mistakes. Do what you say you're going to do. Don't hide any problems. If you break something on someone's desk because you're vacuuming or something, which happens, those employees that report it quickly and say, "Hey, totally my fault, my bad. I'll make sure I'm looking at things more clearly next time." Love that all day long. We'll keep training that employee. The one that's like covering up and sweeping under the desk or whatever, just cleans it up and gets rid of it. I have no room for that type of employee in my business. Okay. What about working together? That's helping the team. They communicate well. They don't ghost you when you communicate. They don't gossip, or they definitely avoid gossip. Okay. Employees can disagree respectfully, but once a decision is made, they have to move together. Okay. Top performers who create drama violate this value big time. No one is above the team. Okay. So working together is huge. You cannot say work together while protecting someone who constantly creates division. If the rule does not apply to your best performer, it is not really a rule. So remember that your other team sees that. They will see that, and your company will start to plummet in productivity and morale if you keep these set of people on board. Okay, one of my values is making money. Okay, we are a business that we need to make profit. Most of you out there need profit. We're not just running a business to break even and to have this wonderful little life. That just doesn't exist. Okay, profits supports payroll, equipment, growth, and opportunity. You got to have it. How I always explain it to my employees when we're training them or hiring them, I say, okay, say I have an office building or say a car dealership. It is proven that if someone goes in to buy a 60, 70, 80, $100,000 car and they go into the restroom and it's disgusting, or there's dust bunnies running across the showroom, they're less likely to buy those cars. But in the flip side, if they go in and things are smelling nice, it's bright, it's clean, restrooms are sanitary, they will buy those cars. They will make more sales. There's been studies over and over again. Same with doctors' offices, even just general offices. People want to give their business to people who are in a clean environment. If you go in there and it's like a hoarder's paradise and it's dirty, you're not gonna get increased business. It's gonna go down. Okay. So clean things up, make your facility cleaner. But when it comes down to, I'm not going to get off on a janitorial tangent here. If that employee who's helping me, or those employees that has helped me at that dealership keep it clean, I'm helping that my customer make more money. Okay, that's what it comes down to. And in return, they're going to keep us longer and our services longer because we're helping them make more money, and that makes me more money because they're keeping us longer as a contractor, and then we make more money longer. Okay, now in return, again, because of those different things happening, I go to those two employees and say, hey, you're doing a terrific job. We have very minimal complaints with you. Everything's going well. Here's more money for you. You earned a raise. That's how making money works in our company. So, everyone, I always say, yeah, when I say making money, you all look at me and say, yeah, of course the evil capitalist wants to make money. Of course I do. If you work for someone, and this is a tangent, I'm going to get on my soapbox and I'm going to right back off. If you ever work for someone, I have in the past, that says, money doesn't motivate me. It's not about the money for me. You need to run in the freaking opposite direction because they will take you down. They will find a way to hose you over and be dishonest with you. But if you work for someone that obviously is clear about, hey, I'm here to make money. I want you to make money. I want me to make money. Those are the ones that I love. That are clear about their objectives. They're not trying to hide who they are. That's who I am. I want to make money. I got to support my family. I want you to be able to support your family. I want my customers to be able to go home and support their family because they're doing well too. So that's how it really is. Okay. So that's the make money for value of it all. Having fun. Okay. Obviously, if you've listened to multiple of my podcasts, I'm a goofball. That's who I am. That's how I enjoy being around. That's who I hire. If I have a bunch of Eeyores from Winnie the Pooh just slumping around my facilities, just getting the job done and just are miserable beings, I don't want them around. I've literally not hired people, and they're sitting me across the table in the past and saying, hey, I've 13 years of janitorial experience. And they're just kind of cocky, like, oh, I'm definitely going to get this job. But I could just tell they're terrible people. They're not going to mesh with my team. They're not going to be coachable. And I go back to that quote I just said. I always say to people, I can teach you to be good cleaners. I cannot teach you to be good people. That's so huge. But having fun, man, we know what we're doing in our industry. We might be cleaning toilets. We might be mopping. We might be dusting. And maybe your industry's not fun either. Maybe swinging hammers isn't fun. It's not as extravagant. We're not all, on the computers making $1 million deals every day or whatever. You can still have fun. You can still have that culture in your company that you have fun people. And if you have a job, say you have a dream job, that you're like, man, I would love to have this job. I would love to have this career. But then you get there and you're like, oh, sweet, I'm so excited to be here. And then people around you are just Debbie Downers and they hate their lives and they are just not fun people. That job quickly becomes a nightmare. That dream quickly becomes a nightmare. And so on the flip side of it all, even though you might be working in a janitorial job or construction job, and maybe it's not your dream job, but you love the people that you're working with because they bring the positivity and they don't bring the drama and puke all their problems at your feet. Man, you're going to enjoy that job. You're going to enjoy that position. You're going to enjoy your time at that company. So that's having fun to us. It's not like, hey, we constantly have to be laughing hysterically. No, but let's have fun with each other. And there's a difference between working and talking and joking, and just talking and joking. There's two type of people. Some people can't work and joke and have fun and talk. Other people can joke and have fun and still work. Okay, you gotta separate those people. You can train a lot of them, but some just can't do it no matter what because they have to talk, and their work doesn't get done. And they eventually, after attempts on training and after attempts on corrective actions, that doesn't work. Then they've got to be ushered out. So skill problems or will problems. Okay. Skill problems sound like I do not know how. Can you show me again? I need more practice. Will problems sound like I do not care. That is not my problem. That is not my job. I am doing it my way. Okay. Train people who want to improve. You can teach procedures and technical skills. You cannot force honesty, humility, and ownership. People can change, but they must want to. Okay, that is big. We've seen that all across the board from anyone from who's struggling with addiction or struggling with the position in their job or in their company. People can change, but they must want to. Okay. This is the main distinction. Is it a skill problem or a will problem? I can teach someone to do the job. I cannot force them to care, tell the truth, take ownership, or want to be part of the team. Okay. So before you fire them, examine your leadership. Okay. Where were expectations clear? Were they properly trained? Did someone inspect their work? Did they receive direct feedback? Did they have the tools and time to succeed? Were managers given conflicting instructions? Have you tolerated that behavior for too long? Several employees failing the same way may indicate a system problem. One employee failing where others succeed may indicate an employee problem. So before deciding, an employee failed, ask whether leadership failed them. That's a big one. Okay. You cannot hold people accountable to expectations to you never clearly communicated. And I'm huge on that, guys. And being very clear about how to communicate. Sometimes I'm terrible at it. And I like people around me not to be yes man or yes women. I tell them right off, like, guys, if I'm not clear on something, please call me out and say, hey, I need more clarification on this so I can do the job you need me to do. Okay. So training is not just saying, do it better. Okay. Training is showing them what better looks like. Okay. So when it comes to the train or fire test, ask these questions. Does this employee take ownership? Are they honest when something goes wrong? Are they coachable? Are they improving? Do they care about the customers and company? Do they work well with others? Okay. Do they live the core values? Would I enthusiastically rehire them today? That's a big one. I'll say that a lot in the past to people. I say, if you knew everything you know about this employee back then, when you hired them, would you still hire them? Is this a lack of skill or a lack of character? That's the one thing you have to realize. Okay. So honestly, guys, we've talked enough about this, but the big thing for me is finding people that are core values fits, helping them realize the rules of the game and make the decisions. Don't just let it go without, addressing the elephant in the room, because your other employees, you'll lead them out of your company, and you'll be wishing you had the good employees instead of this one, top performer that alienates everyone else. Like I've said before, it's better to lose a winner than to keep a loser. And I'm telling you that you can think about that all over and over again, but that's so true. Okay. So thanks for listening to the Idaho Business Podcast. If what I've said today or what I've talked about today resonates with you, or you think it would be good for one of your friends or coworkers, send this to them. Keep sharing this show, guys. Obviously, give us a nice review if you can. That's always brings happiness to me. But remember, at the very last time, the final question: does this employee need more training, a different seat, or a different company? Okay. Other than that, be happy, be grateful, and find opportunities to serve others. Have a great day. That's it for today's Idaho Business Podcast. Hopefully you learned something new. And if you didn't, I've got a cheat code for you. Go to theidahobusinesspodcast.com, enter your email, and get my 20 golden rules for business. It's packed with my best advice, plus it's free. Subscribe, leave a review, share this with a friend. Until next time, keep hustling, keep laughing, and keep Idaho awesome.